tuning in to the World XP podcast. If you're enjoying the content, please remember to drop a sub, drop a like, and leave your thoughts down below in the comments. With that, we will see you guys in the podcast. Raymond, welcome to the World XP podcast. It's been forever. Came up for a couple months from Louisiana, played with us for a bit, and now I see videos of you singing in churches. So, how you been, bro? How you been? It's been a while.
What's up? I've been doing great. I moved from Virginia like a couple months ago, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, we just like doing some different stuff than we used to do.
100%. So, you have become. Actually, hold on. Do you have headphones? I'm getting echo.
No, I don't.
Mm.
I can put one on though.
Yeah, if you can get headphones, do that because
Hold up.
it's gonna echo the whole time.
Let me see now if it works better.
Okay.
Okay, what about now?
Okay. Yeah, that's better. I
Better?
think. Hold on. Blah 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 blah. I don't know why it's still going. Oh, it didn't go that time. No, it went that time. Hmm. Usually why there's echo is because like if you got it on
Mm-hmm.
your speaker picks up my voice and then it shoots it back at me like as you're talking.
Let
Or
me see. Hold up.
are you on your phone?
Hold up. Let me try to fix this real quick.
Okay.
Okay. What about now?
Let's see. Test.
Better?
Hi Raymond. I hear no echo. Okay.
Better
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, for sure. All right. We'll try this again. Ready?
Okay.
Raymond, welcome to the World XP podcast. I know popped up for to Virginia, played soccer with us for a few months, moved back to Louisiana, and now you've changed paths. I guess just a quick intro, and then I'll let you introduce yourself a bit. Um, I was running a training session for a club, and I met Raymond. And I invited him to play up to start training with us. It was during kind of the COVID time frame, and really just looking to help players improve and give them some opportunities and um, kind of almost help you settle in because you had just moved. And so yeah, that's how we met. But if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, kind of who you are, what you've been up to, a mini summary of your backstory, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Yeah. Thanks for putting it, man. It's an honor. And yeah, it's just as you said, I met you back there in Virginia. I moved to Virginia because I one club from what was the name of the city? Woodbridge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they offered me a contract to play with them, and I stayed there for 6 months, and then I had to come back here. But yeah, I stopped playing. Since I got here, I stopped playing. Uh, I went through a couple stuff, so now I'm doing a whole different thing. As I was telling you, I'm studying now. I'm trying to become a pastor, so a whole different thing.
Yeah, 100%. So what got you into that? Because you're a bit younger than me, I'm pretty sure. And so in terms of your soccer or football like career, you still have some time, but you decided to go a different path. So kind of well, tell us about how you came to like what sort of thoughts went into that decision, how you made that decision, and kind of where you are now.
Yeah, well, I will need to go kind of like really back
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
on time.
We got plenty of
Uh,
time, dude.
yeah, okay, sounds good then. When I was back home, I started playing like professional at 15 years old. My first professional games, it was 16. I was playing under 23 with 16 years old, so it was kind of like a lot of like injuries at that moment. I was getting hit a lot. I don't know if you remember when we was playing back in Virginia, they kicked me a lot,
All
and
the time.
it's been like that my whole life. So back home is worse. 'Cause, here there's more like technique, like more tactical players. But
Hmm.
back home, everything is like everybody kick everybody. So being like really young, playing against people 23 years old, 24 years old, 25 years old, training with the first team, I was getting a lot of injuries though.
Hmm.
Getting injured like the whole time. First injury was one of the ankle, the right ankle. I strained my ankle real bad, and they didn't treat us as good as they should. They put an injection. I don't know what's the name in English, like infiltration that goes
Inflammation,
right.
like
No,
anti-inflammatory.
yeah, that goes like right inside the injury.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you can recover quicker.
Hmm.
So they did that one time. Then my ankle did the same thing. They do it again. They did it again. I mean, they did it three times though.
Hmm.
So it went to the point where my ankle, with that little like small hit, it was getting swollen like bad. So that's when I start, like to rethink everything. But I was still 16, 17 years old,
Hmm.
really young. I was playing on the under 20 national team. I play under 17 and under 20 national team for
Hmm.
Nicaragua. I'm from Nicaragua, actually.
Hmm.
I play for the two most important teams back home, Real Esteli and Dirian, most important teams. And yeah, then I got the chance to come here. Uh, I was signed by a university from Georgia, from Thomasville in Georgia, and that's how I end up in here. I was selected out of 120 players it was at that time, and it was just me and another two guys who got selected to play in the university. So after these tryouts, they wait for me a whole year so I can, because I was 15 at that time, and you can go to college in USA with 15 years old.
Hmm.
So they have to wait for me for 1 year. But like in that year, I had an injury in my right knee,
Hmm.
meniscus.
Hmm.
Real bad. I was training with the first team, and I got this injury. So I started my recovery process, and that's the first time I can tell I saw a miracle in me because I was supposed to get a surgery. Everything was ready for the surgery, and then the day before the surgery, they did the test again. Like the I don't know what's the name in English. It's like a test where they see your meniscus, or
MRI.
they did it and the meniscus was good. The
Mm.
doctors was amazed. They was like, we don't know what happened, man. You're just lucky. I was like, this is God. But it just disappeared though, it just disappeared. Some teams that you can't explain. So I got here, I start playing with a team from GCPL. Is a Premier League, the Gulf Coast Premier League.
Hmm.
They brought me to the United States. They offered me a contract to play. I played for them 1 year. And man, every time I was in my 100% again, injuries, injuries after injuries, injuries after. With 20 years old, like right before I moved to Virginia, I decided to stop playing soccer. But then this opportunity in Virginia came on. So I was like, okay, let me try once again. But you know what happened back in Virginia too, my knee again,
Yeah.
and it was just crazy though. So this, I think, these injuries, all of this situation though, put me on a position that I start having depression, like
Mm.
real bad depression, real bad anxiety. I start to feel like an emptiness feeling, like, man, I was getting money. I had my house at that moment. I had my dream car. I had my wife with me and everything. But it was just that feeling, like something is not fitting. Something is not fitting. And I made a couple of mistakes in Virginia. And when I moved back, I almost commit suicide though, 2 times. And I was saved by the police those 2 times.
Mm.
And that was I don't know if that's a good word in English, breaking point, like when I opened my eyes, like,
Mm.
yo,
Mm-hmm. Like
hold up, wait.
realization,
Yeah,
you
exactly,
realized, yeah.
and that's when I don't know, I went to a church and I should start crying, man. I should start crying out of nowhere. I should start crying. And that day I accept Jesus as my savior. And I had a vision. The Bible says that you young people is gonna have visions, is gonna have dreams. And it was me preaching to people. Right after I had this vision, I had the feeling of leaving soccer. So I stopped soccer. Last time I played, it was like what, like 2 months ago, I think. At least I'm not fat. So I mean, I'm more into the God things right now, but if God wants me to have another chance, I'm open to.
Mm-hmm.
I still run sometimes, I still play sometimes, but I stopped soccer.
Yeah.
And I know it's just 22 years old, but like with all of the injuries, with all of the situations, I decided to stop. It's enough for me.
Yeah. So 'cause we had several conversations after you left. Um, and we had talked about just kind of what you were up to. And I hadn't realized that you were at that point. But were you religious before this, or was this your first experience kind of going into a church like that? Because I know a lot of the Central and South American countries are very religious, a lot of Catholics and Christians down there. Was this your opening experience to it, or were you involved before, or kind of? And if you were involved before, what made you go away, I guess?
Actually, no, it's not like my first, what you
Mm,
call it, like my first experience.
yeah. Were you
My
raised? Were you raised?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Christian.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was raised Christian. Uh,
So what made you go
but
away? And then obviously you came back because of the difficulties that you talked about, but you left for a time. What made you do that?
I actually think I was running from the call of God because
Mm,
since I was a kid, I wasn't supposed to be born. First of all,
mm,
when my mom was pregnant of me, there was a tumor that it was growing faster than me, and the doctors told her, "Look, it's either your life or your kid. We either take the tumor out or take the kid out." So she was ready for the abortion. She was ready. And she was as like my meniscus thing. The tumor disappeared like a week before they had to do the surgery. And at that moment my mom made a promise to God that I was gonna be a minister for him. He was like, look, he's alive, so I promise you that he's gonna serve you. He's gonna be a minister. He's gonna preach your word. And I think I was kind of running away, because I heard that it was hard. So I was kind of running away since what, like 14 years old.
Mm.
14 years old, it was a point of my life where I separate completely from God, completely. Whenever like we have 15 years old, 16 years old, we want to have different experience. We don't have to live as our parents tell us to do, you know, like, oh no, I want to have my own life. I want to have my
Right.
own experiences. So everything just tear apart.
Yeah.
And I think I was running away basically.
Mm. That's very interesting. So, mm. So you're in, okay, so let's back. We'll go a little bit through the story, and I want to talk a little bit about your experience when you first get to the United States. What was that like for you? Did you know English before you came over here? What was the transition like, dealing with a different culture, right? You go from a small country into like a university setting is very different, obviously. So how did you handle that? What was that like for you? Um, Talk about some of the challenges or even things that you found maybe a bit easier than you thought. Kind of talk to us about that whole process.
I think it was easy, it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
that hard for me because we used to came to United States for vacations when I was a kid. We used to came a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And bro, I since I was a kid, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a it's way different than the things we have back home in our countries. So when I moved here, I didn't know English like in the level I am right now. I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm not 100% yet, but I was maybe like 40%, something like that. But whenever you are a foreign player, you have to take a test named TOEFL, which tests your English level. And in that test, they see if you're capable to be in the university. It's a listening test, is a speaking test, is a writing test. And that was actually kind of hard. It was kind of hard because it's a 120 points test,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to you have to make like 80 points so you can pass the test. So that was the only hard part. But once I was here, the difference in soccer, Eric, I know you realized this when I was back there. The intensity we have back home is way higher than the United States than
Mm-hmm.
soccer. So in the soccer part, it was easy for me because I came like with intensity. I was playing back home already. So on the soccer part, it was easy. As I told you, the coach loved me at that moment. They wait for me a whole year to turn 16 and came here. So it was really easy. Then and the difference of the culture, man, that was the hard part.
Mm.
People are super different in here. But I'm just glad because the people I met and I keep meeting in the United States, they good people. You know, I have never felt in the United States racism, never. I have never felt like, like kind of like pushing away by people, never to. And I'm just glad, because a lot of people have bad experience, but it's not my case. So it was a good transition. It wasn't that hard.
Mm. Very nice. I will defend the soccer, at least in Virginia, a little bit. The environment that you're in at back home is like people, or at least to the environment here that you were in. Um, a lot of the players are doing it for fun rather than to like make a living or go somewhere. They have less on the line than back home. So that's probably why. I think if you go to a professional environment like a USL environment, the intensity is definitely it picks itself up as it goes. But like you said, that makes total sense why it was that way. Um, that's also good. I'm glad you've not experienced any of
Yeah,
the
and
horrible stuff.
like you
Yeah.
have to you have to like keep in mind that when I went to Virginia, I wasn't even in my 100%. I was
Mm-hmm.
just like trying again, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a whole different thing. I was 17 years old at that moment, and I was coming from playing national team. I
Mm-hmm.
was coming from playing under 23 teams already,
Yeah.
like the second team for the first teams, you know.
Yeah.
So
When
I
you went
had
to Georgia, you mean?
a lot more of intensity, yeah. But now in Virginia, I was like maybe on a 80%, and I knew it, you know. And
Yeah.
I know even like Virginia, I know for sure they have good level, good
Mm-hmm.
intensity because it was hard for me at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the beginning, it was really hard. So I know in Virginia, and I keep telling everybody in Louisiana, like, man, Louisiana soccer, nah, man,
Uh,
in comparison with Virginia soccer, with like Maryland soccer, is a whole different thing.
yeah. There's
You know,
a lot of
and is
talent that's out of
yeah,
this area.
yeah,
So, okay, so you were what, 17 when you got to Georgia, and then when you moved to Virginia, you were what, 20 years old?
21, yeah, 21.
21. Okay. So you go back to Louisiana and you're in this sort of dark place. And you don't have to talk about all the details if you don't want to, but um what was right, you talked about the emptiness and stuff, but that it goes a bit deeper, right? To attempt suicide. So if you want to talk about those moments and like how the police helped you, and then how you realize afterwards you need to go to church. Like how does that work out for you, or like how did that situation kind of play out?
Yeah. Oh, okay. First of all, let me tell you, I'm an open book, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have nothing to hide. I'm not
Of
gonna be
course,
like
but
I can't.
some
I
people
already met.
don't want to
Yeah,
some people don't want to like relive the experience, you know? So I have to
yeah,
say that, you know?
yeah. No, I completely understand, but like the difference now with me is that I met Jesus, and it's a whole different thing. Now, the experience I had in the past, I use it as a testimony. You
Mm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
so when you get to meet this beautiful person named Jesus, all of your past though, it becomes to be a testimony. Like it didn't hurt anymore. Like it didn't hurt me though. It didn't make me feel bad either. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know it was back there. So now I can talk about it. But
Gotcha.
I know some people that is going like to psychologists, they can't talk about this because it's hard for them. Because it might the chapter not be closed. So I understand, you know.
Yeah.
I completely understand. But yeah, the problem is I think since I was a kid, you said what made you what you said? Like
So kind of like when you got back to Louisiana, that dark like we'll say, I don't know what, 6 month period
oh
where
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
tried to commit suicide, kind of talk about how like what you remember from feeling, how the police helped you in the situations, right? You said they helped you when you attempted that. So talk about sort of all of that, and then how you got out of it, right? Because I think the important thing
Yeah,
with
yeah.
life is there's a lot of people feeling depressed and anxious now,
Mm-hmm.
and the important part is how do we get out of that? How do we help people get out of that? So talk on like your experience for, say, because other some people will say, well, I have it worse because they don't know. So touch on like how far down, right, you went, and then how you got out of it, because I think it's important to know, like, for anyone to attempt that, and I know some people that have attempted that, is you have to be in a very, very dark place. So talk about that, and then how you got out of it.
Yeah, real quick, moving back, I told you I was running away
Mm-hmm.
because the problem is that I was raised knowing Jesus, but I had a bad example of it because my parents at that moment they were really like going back and forth,
Yeah.
in their relationship, like fighting. arguing in front of us. So this bad example made me, like feel bad since I was a kid. So this creates something that I didn't know it was gonna get bigger when I was growing up. So seeing all these problems at home, uh, then my parents divorced, and I didn't have a chance to talk about this with somebody. So keeping this to myself too, it was really hard, and now I know it was really bad too. And I even had the chance to talk to some people, but these people wasn't the correct one to talk about it. Because like there's some people that you can talk to them and they can, like really listen to you. But there's some other people who are not really listeners.
Mm-hmm.
And when you want to talk about this kind of stuff, you need really good listeners. Sometimes you don't even need somebody to talk back to you like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. Sometimes depressed people just need a good listener, you know?
Yeah.
So I had these problems at home at first, then growing up, all my injuries in soccer too, knowing very well that I was going to be great because that everybody was, like betting on me back home. Because as I'm telling you, 16 years old, I was playing under 23 already. I was with the first team too. So everybody was like, let's say, putting their money on me, like
Mm-hmm.
betting on me, like this guy is gonna be great, this guy is gonna be this, and not becoming what they expect me to be put me in a bad position too. Then I started doing drugs too.
Mm.
I went really bad on drugs. At first, I went on drugs because I couldn't sleep. So I was like, let me try so I can see if it really gonna help me to sleep. I tried, it
Painkillers.
helps me. Yeah, it
Yeah.
helps me at first. Then I started using it like on the regular, on the regular. And when I stopped doing this, it gave me anxiety attacks, like really bad. Because I was already like how you can say it, I was already depending on the painkillers.
Yeah.
I was already addicted to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I start with the painkillers. Then I start with weed, doing bad like every day. I was telling my wife because she didn't even realize that I was going through this either. And that's crazy, because she lives with me. And at one moment I went to cocaine though. And that was the moment when I realized, man, I'm messed up for real. I'm messed up for real because I'm jumping to another drug and I don't know where it's gonna end up. And then I went into an altercation with my wife, not like fight, but like like a lot of back and forth with my wife too. And this brought me back memories of when I was a kid. So the depression went worse than it was at that moment, and the suicidal thoughts start getting bad, getting bad, and getting bad. So one moment I was just walking through a bridge that is right in between two cities in here. It's like super tall and stuff. So I was walking there and I just stepped in the middle of it and I was like, I'm gonna jump from here. I already had enough of this, enough suffer. I'm just at that moment I was 22 and my thing was like I'm just 22 years old though. All of this pain, all of the things I'm carry on since I'm like 14 years old. It was it was killing me. It was killing me slowly. It was killing me slowly. So I was like, I'm gonna jump. And when I stand up on the edge of the bridge, there was a police coming out of nowhere. The police car just like turned on the lights. He went, he talked to me, are you okay? This and that and this and that. And he took me to the other side of the bridge. And being there, I was like, no, I'm not gonna be saved by a police. What is this? I went back to the bridge did the same exact thing, though, the same exact thing. And then another police car. I would say two times, though, the same day.
Mm.
And I'm not even telling you about the times I tried to commit suicide before by drinking a lot of pills and it never happened. I can explain it though, because like one time I took maybe like 25 painkillers and it didn't, like, nothing happened though, like nothing. I was just laying down on the sofa, waiting, like, okay, this is the day. I swear it was like 25 of them. I swear, I'm not, I'm not playing. Like 25 of them, and nothing happened. The name is in Spanish. It's alprazolam. It's for the pain. It's for the people who go to the surgeries and
Mm-hmm.
just so they can sleep. But it was God's hands working since that moment.
Yeah. How long in between the two police? He drop you off and you walk straight back, or was it like you go home and then you go back?
No, at the same time, they drove me off. They drove me off, and then I walked back because I was
Mm.
decided that day. I was like, no, he have to be this day because I can't keep going. It was the same day, like maybe 30 minutes difference. No, maybe like 1 hour difference.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, I'm glad you didn't do it. Um, I feel like there was a part of you that didn't really want to do that. I don't know. Is that accurate?
Actually, I was scared of the alligators because there is water, like uh under the bridge, and I know there's alligators, man. So I was like, but it's like like really like how you say in English, like the height is really high. The
Yeah.
bridge is super high, like
Hmm.
super high. So I know falling from there, as soon as you hit the water, it's like hitting the ground.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, what if I don't die whenever I hit the water? And there's an alligator, and and this eats me. I was like,
Yeah.
no, it's gonna hurt so bad. So I was scared of the alligators. That was the part of me that didn't want to do it.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie,
But
Raymond. I didn't expect us to go here today when we talked.
yeah,
I'm so infinitely glad that you did not do that. How how soon after that did you go to church? When you talked about you went to church, you went back to church and you started crying. Was that like next day, a week later, that day?
look, right after that day, I remember I prayed for the first time in a long time, and I told God, look, if I'm alive, it's because you have a purpose in my life. If I'm still here, breathing, it's because you're going to do something with me. But it was like a period of 2 weeks, maybe. And I even told God in my prayer, I'm never gonna forget. I'm gonna go to church tomorrow because then the next day there was a like a church.
Hmm.
And it was church day, and I was like, I'm gonna go tomorrow. I promise I'm gonna go tomorrow, and it didn't happen. But 2 weeks later, there was something going on in church, like a special event. And my mom was like, "You want to come?" I told her, "Yeah, I'm gonna see if I go." And at the very last minute, I was like, I'm gonna go, but I wasn't expecting, all of that to happen.
Your mom is in the
Because,
US
like,
now.
yeah, my mom and my dad, they here
Mm.
now, and I wasn't expecting that to happen. I went just like to see, just like to take a look at what they were doing. But this is the thing. Sometimes you go looking for one thing, or you just go because somebody invites you, and then you end up meeting with Jesus, not with the people you were supposed to meet. And that's the funny part because I was there, and the pastor just call the people who wanted to accept Jesus as their savior, or yeah, basically that. And I didn't move, I was like, no, for what? But then this start happening. I start crying. I start shaking like crazy, like real shaking like crazy though. I was like, what's happening with me? Because I was crying out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting to cry either. I wasn't in a mood to cry either. I start to cry. They start happening to me. And then I felt a hand right on my shoulder. And it was the pastor. And as I told my pastor, I will never forget the words you told me. He was like, I'm gonna give you a hug, but this hug is not from me. God sent me to give you this hug. Man, my wife sometimes get jealous, but this hug was so good, man. Like, oh my, I never experienced a hug so bad, so like so good. Like I felt, like it was really hugging me, like it was really there.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the step and I accept Jesus that day.
So you go home that day. What are you thinking? What's going on in your head? Where are you at mentally? Are you the 2 weeks prior to that? Are you still doing like on painkillers and doing smoking weed and the other stuff? Like where are you at mentally the 2 weeks up to that point and then going home that day? What were you feeling?
Actually, I stopped that day. I stopped, and
Mm,
I think it was God too, because when you're addicted to something, you just can't stop. Like you have to go through a process. And when it was bad, like I was doing, you have to take a time. And with me, it wasn't like that, and that's like the crazy thing for some people who know me, because they were like, how you should stop from one day to another. And I told them, man, I don't know, but now that I know why, I understand everything. But those 2 weeks, I was just basically existing, basically that, breathing, working, and that's it, nothing else. I was just, like trying to figure out all the stuff, putting all the pieces together, but it wasn't like I was feeling bad the whole 2 weeks. I was like doing drugs. No, it was just like I was just thinking a lot, meditating about everything.
but still incomplete, obviously, which is why you ended up at church that day.
Hmm.
So then, okay, so you have this experience at church and you're going home in the car on the way home. What are you feeling? What's your mindset like? What are you thinking about? Are you making promises to yourself that day? Are you making promises to God that day, to Jesus? What's going on in your head on the way home?
As I'm telling you though, I had a vision that day, and on the Bible, I told you on Acts, it says that the, I didn't know this at that moment till maybe a couple days later. I realized this was in the Bible too, because whatever it happens to you, whenever you are with God, you will find it in the Bible. That's for sure. I know that for sure. And I had this vision, but I was like, I wasn't sure, because I was like, I might saw something on YouTube, or I might saw a video of somebody doing this. So I was going back home just thinking, really happy because I had this feeling before when I was a kid. This whole thing, I felt it when I was a kid. So I was like, man, it's happening again. I'm feeling good again. And since that moment, it's like it sets like a before and after in my life, an after and a before in my life.
Hmm.
That was the last day I felt anxiety. That was the last day I really felt depression. The last day. That was the last day. And before that, it was some thoughts, of doing drugs, but I didn't want to. I didn't do it, but it was still some thoughts. Just as you said, I went to church because of a reason too. And that was the last day I had these thoughts in my head too. And going back home, I was just basically telling God, look, is this is what you wanna do with me? Like, I'm down, you know, I'm down for you because I understand you saved me. And as I told you before, if I'm still alive, it's because you have a purpose for me. So if you wanna use me as your basil. You know what that
Mm-hmm.
means?
Yeah.
So I told him, yeah, use me. I don't know what you want to do with me, but use me.
So how long after that did you start kind of preaching or in church? I remember I started to see videos of you up on, I don't know, I don't want to call it a stage, but like near the altar talking with the microphone, leading hymns and songs. And I remember seeing that and I was like, oh, it seems different for him because the last version that I had seen of you was soccer. And I stopped seeing soccer and started seeing that, and I was like, huh, I wonder what happened. But now I mean, it makes sense. So then, how long after you start doing that? Because you said you're still studying to be a pastor, right? So how did you go to the pastor of the church and say, I want to start doing this, I want to start studying, or how did that all work out for you?
Okay, this is the thing about this. I have to go like to spiritual like words.
Mm-hmm.
I know you know about this because like you went to church when you was a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you went to
Yeah.
church when you was a kid,
Yeah. Catholic.
and I know, I know that you went to church when you was a kid, and I know you still have a purpose too, because the seed that God puts in you is gonna grow one day. But there is something named Holy Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and when this fills you, it gives you I don't know how you say in English. It's not like powers, but to be easier for me, I'm gonna call it powers.
Say it.
Because I don't really know the word
What's
in
the
English.
Spanish? What's the Spanish word?
Don, Don.
Hmm. I know the word. I know what you mean, but I don't know the word either. That's fine. I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Let me see if I can find the word real quick. Gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
works.
Yeah, yeah. It works. It's not like superpowers, but it's like
Yeah.
you feel empowered.
Yeah, so right the right after that, I think it was the second date after that. I was driving my car. I was going to one of my friend's house. And when people say, I heard God, it doesn't mean like they heard like literally like a person, like somebody talking. Some of them have this experience, but most of these people is with thoughts out of nowhere. You have this talking to you. And I was driving and I had this thought telling me, your friend is going through a difficult situation. Your friend stop believing in God. Go out there and pray for him. But I stopped my car and I start talking to God for the first time. And I told him, I'm not ready. I just converted like again like 2 days ago. I'm not ready. And I had this feeling, you have to go. You have to go. So I went there and I told him, look, I told God I don't have the words. put the words in my mouth because I don't really know what I'm gonna talk about because I don't really know what this guy is going through. But you put the words in my mouth. I went there and I start talking to him about stuff that I didn't know, and he never told me either. And when I start talking this stuff, this guy, he start crying too. And at the moment I start praying for this guy just like went to his knees and he kept crying. He kept crying for a long time. I prayed for him. I left home, and as soon as I got home, um, I felt that like, yo, what's happening? Okay, what's this? So I went to the Bible and I started reading about this. And since that moment, all these gifts start to happen in my life. The name is prophecy, the prophecy.
Prophecy? Yeah.
And since that moment, God started using me as a prophet with the science gift. Science gift means you know stuff. How can I explain? You know stuff that you don't know, if that makes sense,
Hmm. Yeah.
Like there's no way of you knowing something, but you know it because God is telling you.
Yeah.
Like for example, just as I told you, I was laying down in my bed like a couple hours ago, and when I was reading the Bible a little bit, and you told me we was gonna be on the podcast, God told me this guy went to church when he was a kid. That's what I told you. You went to church, right? We
Hmm.
never talk about God before, never. And it's not like, oh, it's because everybody goes to church. Like you know that's a lie.
Hmm.
You know that's a lie. Some people never know about God, never knew about God, never. And I went to my pastor. We talked a little bit, and he was like, "Look, you're gonna be on like a test time. I'm gonna be helping you. I'm gonna be helping you to have like a base, like like a good foundation.
Yep.
Because you can't just go out there and tell people, oh, I'm this and that, I'm a prophet, I'm blessed. No, you can't. Because whenever you're used by God, you start having these attacks by the devil, by the evil,
Hmm.
by the
Devil, yeah.
evil too. And if you don't have good foundations, you're gonna fall again, and it's gonna be worse. That's what the Bible says too. That the status it becomes to be worse than it used to be when you don't have a good foundation. So he started working with me. He started, with a lot of patience. Though I'm really glad. I'm really glad, like really, really glad that God put this pastor on my path because he's been really helping me a lot. He's been a bless for me though. And whenever he saw that I was getting better and getting ready, he was like, okay, now you can go ahead. Because there's something that the Holy Spirit gives to the he gives you gifts and then he gives you something like attitudes, like different attitudes, like peace. You get peace. What else? Let me say it in English because I don't know how to say in English. Look, this is my first time talking about God in English.
You're
Hey,
doing a good
yeah,
job.
yeah, yeah. Hey, you're getting what you call it, a historical one the first time. It's the
Exclusive.
first time exclusive. It's the first time ever. But it's like peace, basically peace, love, all of this stuff. That when you accept Jesus, you start to showing to the world, and it's but not because you're only showing it to them. It's because you're living with this. It's something that have changed. If you used to hate somebody, you can't hate him no more. If you used to do this, you just can't do it no more because there's something inside you that tells you, look, no, that's bad, that's wrong,
Hmm.
don't do it. you know if you was being like if you was having problems at home, and you had zero peace at the moment, then you start having peace too. If you was a kind of person that used to get mad real quick, you start to be patient. And I was that person, getting mad real quick. And I started to have patience too. And whenever I think the people who knows about God see these things on other people, and because that's how I do too. Whenever I see this kind of stuff in people, I'll be like, okay, these persons have the Holy Spirit because he's a different person. You can tell, by the way they move, by the way they talk, and you can feel the interior too. You can tell it's not like just from the outside because, out there's a lot of people that from the outside they look good and they talk good, but from the inside they so bad, or they go back home and they treat their wife like trash. They treat their kids like trash. They treat people like trash. They treat homeless people in the way they want to treat them. So it's just like from the outside. But you can tell whenever a people is good from the inside too. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it was at that moment that the pastor realized this guy is getting ready. Because I know for sure I'm not ready yet. I'm in the process still. I think everybody's in the process too. Because the word say if there is a perfect person on the world, he will come. So nobody's perfect yet. So everybody's in the process. Nobody's ever gonna be ready. Even in regular life, sometimes you think you're ready for something, but then you realize, wait, I'm not ready for this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Always, always.
So I think at that moment he was like, yeah, he's he's doing better. So I start getting chance, like to sing in the altar. That was a hidden talent. I can sing sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
My wife, yeah, yeah, my wife says I do it good, but he's my wife. You know,
Yeah, of course.
she will say I do it good. But that was the moment when I start, like to sing and to preach, to go out there and preach to people too. Whenever the gift and the fruits of the Holy Spirit start to show in my life.
Hmm, powerful. So you start preaching, you've got people that are there, and to a certain extent, what about, right? So obviously you enjoy it and you're doing what God has called you to do, but what so like when I am training kids in soccer and I see they improve, it makes me proud. But so I guess how much of it do you get from having somebody come up to you and say, "Oh, that was really like I really like what you said really spoke to me today," versus knowing that you're doing what God has called you to do? Is it both, or like do you have those experiences with people coming up to you and saying like, "Wow, your testimony is very powerful." Um, like how has that kind of been for you?
Um, Actually, yes, it happened to me like a couple times before, and it's really, you can say it, meaningful. Is
Mm-hmm.
that a good word?
Yeah, meaningful. Yeah.
It's really meaningful for you because, look, let me tell you something first so you don't get it wrong. Because I had a friend before, not a friend, but a guy that came up to me, um, and he don't believe in God. And I told him my experience. And he was like, okay, so if I want to meet God, I have to suffer. So I told him, no, wait, that's not the plan. That's not the original plan. The original plan is you meeting God without suffering. But because of your acts, you got consequences. But God used all of this, even if it's good. But if He used the bad for good, that's what He does. So even your consequences, He still uses. So I know that God didn't put me in this position. God didn't want me to have depression. Obviously, no. But He used all of this to go. out there and talk to people who's going through the same process as me, you know? So some people came up to me like, I've been going through the same situation, and I'm really thankful that that you are talking about this. I'm really thankful because most of the people don't really talk about this, you know. Most of the people have this as a, I don't know how you say in English, taboo.
Taboo,
Like
yeah.
like
This like you're not supposed to talk about it, yeah.
yeah, and it's even worse when you're in church, because some people say, "Oh, you know Jesus, how you feel sad? Oh, but you know how you feel this," and feelings were given by God, because if not, we will be people without feelings. So they were like, "I've been going through this, and I'm really glad I heard you talking about this." And some other people, when I go to them with a word, like I told you, that I go to them and with words that I don't know these people, it's going through this, but God's showed me it's going through this. They go like, "Man, how? How you do this? How you can do this?" They get amazed, you know. But as people who is used by God, we're really careful with this, because we always know it's not about us. It's not that we deserve this. It's not like, oh, it's because I'm a good guy, God is using me. No, because my nature is being bad, but His grace is so big that He still used me. That's why I told you, you know what, use me as a vessel is,
Hmm.
because I'm just a vessel of Him. Whenever I go to a people, it's not because I'm doing it, it's because He's doing it through me. And you ask me, like, how does it feel? But there's something in the Bible, I'm going to read it to you real quick, that it says, "So you also, when you have done everything you were told to do, should say, 'We are unworthy servants. We have only done our duty.'" We're not doing something, oh my God, no, we're just doing our duty. So whenever people come to us, we feel good about them. But we don't get this go all the way to our heart, because it can go the wrong way. But yeah, it happened to me and it feels so good. I feel happy, when I
Hmm.
get to help people. I feel really happy.
How do you um how do you know what the word reconcile means in
What's the
English?
word?
Reconcile.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So how do you kind of reconcile the fact that you are just like you're not God is using you to do stuff, but you like want to have some control over your life. Like how do you balance those two together, right? Because like it's okay to feel happy when you help people, but also like you want to have some resemblance of like of control over you like do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the balance,
Yeah.
between regular life and
Yeah,
all the
because
other
there's
stuff.
there's a certain point of existing on the earth where you have to just like you have to make some judgment calls yourself. Like God is using you to, right, he's using you as a vessel, but there's sometimes that you have to also decide, like maybe through his like through God's influence you can make the decision, but like like how do you balance that out between
Um,
for example saying, "Oh, I haven't heard," like I know this is not how it works, but just to simplify the example, like, "Oh, I haven't heard from God today. I don't know if I should do this or that. Let me just pick to do that one." Like, I know that's not how it works, but like to
yeah.
simplify the example, like, how do you balance that out?
Well, the way you keep the balance is knowing that even on your regular life, let's call it like that, you still have to follow the example of Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So some people some people really think that whenever you're serving God, you start being serious, like oh, you don't talk to nobody, or you spend the day like, mm, God talk to me. No, and it's not like that though.
Yeah.
No, because it's a relationship. It's not because with Jesus, it's not religion no more. It's a relationship with Him. So it's not like I'm the whole day like moving in a different way, like spiritually. No, I keep the balance too. I laugh. I still, like make jokes. I love to make jokes. I love to laugh with people, laugh about everything. But you know the limits. Like you
Mm-hmm.
start recognizing the limits where you can pass, you know, what you can do no more. You still live in a regular life. The only difference is that you pray more, is that you seek God with a different intensity than what it used to be. And as I told you, when God start using you, you start getting attacks too. A lot of attacks. But on the Bible it says in John 16:33, these things, these things I have spoken to you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Some people think that whenever we come to God, we're not going to have problems, that the problems will stop, that you meet Jesus and then the problems stop. Oh, you live a good life, a movie life, and it's not like that. You have problems too, but the difference is that you know who's going to help you in these problems. The difference is that you know you're not alone. The difference is that you know how to fight with these situations. So that's the difference with the one I am right now and the one I used to be. How I keep the balance. I still go out, but if I see something that I can do, I stop because I know the Holy Spirit is with me. So I stop. I'm like, no, this is God doesn't want this to me. I pray a little more. I pray now. I pray so more than I used to be before, but I keep living a regular life. I go to work whenever I'm working. I'm still praying in my head, and whenever I have to take decisions, and I don't feel, oh my God, God is not answering me. I go to my Bible, or I start thinking, what will Jesus do in this situation? Because
Yeah.
we start living for Him as His example. And if I can get it that way either, I go to my pastor. Yo, what should I do with this? But
Mm.
decisions, that's the hard part, actually. That's a good point. Taking decisions is hard because your body wants something and your spirit wants something else. So it's really hard.
Yeah. It's hard to remain. Everyone has their own framework of like moral, we'll say, principles that they have to live by. We'll say, regardless of whether we agree with that framework or not. But for you, you found this framework, and so for you, you're just following the example of the framework that exists. So it's kind of like I feel like the decisions that maybe like that you said are difficult, they kind of touch the boundaries of like where you're like you have an area where you're like, yes, I know exactly what to do in all of these situations. And then you've got to kind of like when it pushes to the edge, then you have to make judgment calls and things like that. Um, but yeah, I think I mean, obviously, you're right. It's about setting right. It's following the example that Jesus gave, and I don't know. I feel like if more people did that, the world would be a better place, honestly. So, um, what is next for you? So you're still studying. You're studying to be, right? You're not fully pastor yet. Um, I don't know. Talk about that. Setting the example in life. How you plan to move forward in life. What your goals are. All of those things.
Well, right now I'm just waiting on God really,
Hmm.
because I start to live in my day by day. I still make plans, like for example, I don't have kids yet, but I want to have kids. So I might make my plans, but I still pray to God. So I'm like, look, I got my plans, but if you change them, I don't have any trouble because I don't live for me no more.
Yeah.
So I still got plans. Like, if you ask me right now, I want to have kids next year, but I don't know what God have for me, you know. So I'm just doing my best right now, studying because you got. I mean, look, this doesn't is it's not like, oh, if you study, oh, you can be a pastor. No, you need to have the call because books and knowing a lot of things can give you the call because you have a lot of like wise people in the world, a lot of them, a lot of them, but they don't have the call. And I know you have some examples in mind whenever I say this, but there's a lot of people out there that has been really wise and then just end up losing everything because the being wise that doesn't mean you can be a pastor,
Hmm.
but you still like me. I'm studying to get to know more deep on the Bible, like go deeper, you know, not just reading, go deeper on history, on more foundation. So I'm just doing that part right now. Um, and I'm in the wait process. That's what we call it. I was talking to my wife yesterday about this. This is the wait process. This is the hard part, like the hard part, because you're just waiting.
Yeah.
You're just waiting. But I got if you ask me for my plans, I want to have kids. Let me see what else I have. Well, I really want to preach. I really want to be a pastor. But first of all, um, I am getting my all my premises done so I can go back home right now
Hmm.
and start preaching back home too. Like going to preach to small towns, going to preach to cities back home, where people don't know about Jesus, don't where poor people is living, because that's our job too. It's not just talking about Jesus with people, who have money. No, we have to go all the way down there. So that's my main plan right now. Get everything done so I can go back to Nicaragua, start preaching back in Nicaragua, making like campaigns, like
Yeah.
I have Nicaragua on mine, I have Honduras on mine, I have Guatemala on mine too, Argentina and Spain. So this is the wait process. This is the wait moment right now. Just waiting.
Big things are in store for you, sir. Have you done a lot of like missionary or like evangelization type, like you go places and you try to talk to people about Jesus before, or not so
Back
much?
home, not so much. Back home, I used to be a translator for missions, for Christian missions.
Mm,
And I was being a translator, but I wasn't good with that. I wasn't going to church.
yeah.
So I think that's a seed too.
Hmm.
You don't really realize what's happening. but there is something going on. So I was working in a mission back home with people from here. They were going back home, and I was translating for them, and with them, how you say it in English, evangelization.
Yeah, like kind of reaching out to
Yeah,
people. Yeah.
yeah, I've been going out, but most of the time when I feel God had something to a person, when it's like directly, and I
Yeah.
can go like for sure, look, this and this and that, but not that much.
Hmm. I was gonna ask if you experienced any like, because I know there were Catholic missionaries that go to like the college campuses and or like Mormons, for example, that go play and they are sometimes we'll say not very well received by the local population, whether it's a college campus or wherever. So that was going to be my question if you had experienced anything like that before and how you would handle it. But we can
Uh,
pretend, we can
yeah,
say how would you
yeah.
handle it?
So look, first of all, let me tell you, my older sister, she's Catholic.
Hmm.
My older sister, she's Catholic, and well, I really think we all have to respect their religions. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter what they believe. We have to respect, and it happened to me before with Mormons. I used to hide from them, you know, because sometimes they
So I,
they go to they go to your house on Saturday mornings,
yeah,
and I mean, I don't know how like
you know the question I'm
you need
asking.
to know, yeah, you need to know that this is gonna happen.
Hmm.
If you go and it happened to me already. Not like going door by door knocking, but with family though, who don't believe in the same as me.
Hmm.
So I have to handle this with respect, because that's the main thing, Eric.
Yeah.
Respect. You got to respect. There's a lot of people thinking that they have the right way and they disrespect everybody. And they think, oh, because this is the right way to think, you're in the wrong part. So you're going to hell. That's not the right way to think. Trust me, that's not the right way to think. We're not in this earth to judge people. It's not our job. Our job is just to spread the word. So whenever people is like not receiving what I'm saying, I feel like I have to stop. Let's change the topic, you know?
Hmm.
Because I told you when we started, I talked to a guy who don't believe in God at all. He's a scientist and he don't believe in God at all. And it was hard, trust me, because he's super smart. He's super smart. He knows a lot. And he's a scientist. He thinks, everything. It started from the Big Bang and this and that. So you need to listen. So I just listen. I just sat down and I listened to him. I wait for him to like till he end up talking. So I start up. And it was like that. That was the first time. But I understand this. You need to be patient. You need to have respect to what other people is thinking. Because you can just like push something in their head. Like you need to think like I'm thinking. No, it's not like that, you know?
Yeah.
So when this happens, you need to have patience, respect, and love. You need to know how to love them. Even if you think they're wrong, love them. Love them, accept them, because in the way you act with them, that's the same way they're gonna think Jesus is gonna act with them too.
Mm.
So when this happened to me, I just have patience. I just respect them. If they don't want me to talk about it, I just tell them, "You good? Don't worry. God bless you." That's just, that's my words in Spanish. Está bien. Dios te bendiga.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. God bless you.
Yeah.
But we're just planting the seed. That's the only thing. We're just planting the seed. Just planting the seed. a word I give you, I'm planting the seed on you. And if it's God's, if it's God's, how you say it, like if God wants to do it,
God's will.
God's will. Yeah. So, but that's how I handle it though. With respect, patience, and love.
Fair enough. Wise words from a 23-year-old. I feel like that's a good place to wrap up, honestly. I think we covered your story, some of your future plans. I don't know. I'm very, very happy you're still here. I think you're doing great work. Seen the videos, obviously. Um, I don't have a lot of words, to be honest. Just listening to your story and soaking it in. Um, yeah. Any closing thoughts? Any last things you wanna throw out there before we wrap up?
Whenever you have more questions, we can have the what you call it, the second part
Yeah.
of the of the what you call it, of the podcast. But no, I'm really glad though, and I'm really grateful that you gave me the opportunity to talk about this, and I know it's gonna be helpful. It's gonna be helpful for some people, you know. I know for sure this is gonna go to the right ears. This is gonna go to the right minds, and even if there's people who don't believe in God, and you will tell me, no, I don't believe God exists. You know what I tell them when people tells me this?
Mm. What do you tell them?
If I'm following a God that doesn't exist, let me tell you, this God that doesn't exist for you, He took me out of depression. This God that you think doesn't exist, He gave me new purpose in life. This God that you think that it doesn't exist took me out of anxiety. So at the end of the time, if God, if this God doesn't exist, I'm happy. But we will see at the end if this exists or not.
Yeah. We
And
will
we for
see.
sure gonna know. Yeah, we will see, you know.
We will see
But
indeed.
but yes, I'm telling you, I'm really thankful though. I'm really thankful. And I hope all the podcasts, I mean, you keep doing, they go really well. You know, you keep having good guesses
Yeah.
that they will help you a lot. And as I'm telling you, if you have more questions, let's go second part.
Yeah,
Or if
I'm
some
sure.
friend of you tells you like, look, what this means, ask this guy, write down all those questions. But let me know before so I can get ready for them.
Of course, I gave you no questions
and
today.
I will end up with something, with a Bible verse that says, in the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. Even on my servants, both man and woman, I will pour out my spirit in those days and they will prophesy. I
Beautiful.
really believe this is going to happen, and the seed that is in you is going to grow. I know for sure.
We'll
Because
see. It
because
will.
on Jeremiah, God told the prophet Jeremiah, I knew you since you was on your, let's say, on your mom's belly.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
he knows you. He knows you really good, better than somebody else.
Better than me, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, man. But yeah, I tell everybody like if it helps one person, people are like, why you do this? Like if it helps one person, that's good enough for me. So I'm sure this will be helpful to a lot of people that listen. So thank you, man. I appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, guys. if you want to find Raymond, I'll put his Instagram in the description below. Go check him out. If you've got questions for him, uh, feel free to message him. I'm volunteering your messages. Feel free to message him. But other than that, guys, with that being said, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.